Now, I just also want to point out that you might be thinking, hey, what is this, all this day-to-day input? That's a lot of forms. What's going on here? I just want to set up my QuickBooks files, turn on the bank feeds, and let the bank feeds automate everything. I'm going to talk more about that later. But if you have a very simple process, like you're a gig worker or something like that, you're a YouTuber or something like that, and you just get paid from a platform, that might be fairly easy to do. You can in essence do that. You could basically say, I want all the stuff to pull in from the bank, and then I'm going to use those forms, which will be basically deposit forms, which will be the increases to the bank account, and expense or check type forms, decreases to the bank account, and then just use those two simple forms to create the financial statements. However, we're going to touch on the idea that you're going to have problems with that anytime you run into complexities, often that complexity leading us and forcing us to do a more accrual type of thing. In other words, if you have to track accounts receivable, then you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to invoice and track the accounts receivable being an accrual thing. If you have to track accounts payable, similarly, you have to deal with a bill form and not just an expense or check type of form. If you have to deal with payroll, then we're going to have to deal with accrual kind of components and reporting requirements as well as taxes, all of which mess up the normal kind of automation process. If you're dealing with inventory, that'll mess things up. So those are the typical things. Sales tax messes things up also, or usage tax if you're not in the United States, right? So those are the things that'll mess things up. So what we want to do is learn the forms in general, which we will talk about in detail. And then if you have a more simplified process, then you can eliminate all the complexity and just do the simplified things, which we'll talk about later in the course as we focus just on the bank feeds. But if you jump to the bank feeds before learning the forms, then you might get messed up. You're going to pull in a lot of data and you won't know what to do with it possibly. So that's just something to be aware of.